Hi, everybody. Sandy Kreisberg here, Fridays with Sandy. We have a very powerful candidate. Her name is Lexi. Lexi, why don't you introduce yourself to our vast audience? Just tell us who you are, what you're doing, what you want to do, where you've been.
My name is Lexi. Giving you a little bit about my background, I'm from a small farm town in California. I went to school down in UC San Diego, where I studied economics and business. And then following that, I had the amazing opportunity to start my career at Goldman Sachs on their healthcare team. Backtracking a little during college, I was diagnosed with and dealt with Lyme disease, and that kind of set me on a trajectory to want to work in the human health space. So I joined Goldman's healthcare team. However, while I was there, I realized that I really wanted to work with small businesses and that and that I was a little bit more passionate about the consumer industry, specifically about food and beverage, and that I could approach the human health issue from that angle. After I made that realization, I found the firm Sunrise Strategic. We're a small growth equity firm investing in better for you food, agriculture, and beverage companies. And that's where I've been for the last 2 years.
Good. Where is Sunrise located?
We're located in Boulder, Colorado. There's really a mecca of better for you food here and food investors. So I made the transition from New York to Boulder.
Boulder is great as everybody says it is.
It is beautiful. It's right on the foothills. Yeah, it's a very beautiful small town.
Okay, that was a kind of very good extended kind of skip through your resume. Very often, the first question is, let's say we're going around the room the first day of class, and everybody's just popping up and saying hi and giving some color. What would you? How would you introduce yourself to your classmates?
Hi, I'm Lexi. I started my career at Goldman Sachs on their healthcare banking team. After a year and a half there, I decided I wanted to make the transition to work in growth equity and also the transition to work in food and beverage. So I joined a small growth equity firm in Boulder, Colorado, where I was up until business school, called Sunrise Strategic.
This is a little formal, and I'd say you're a highly articulate person that often carries the liability of sounding scripted, particularly when you're giving a kind of a biographical summary, which tends to drift toward a scripted format. But you really have to try and, particularly in the interview, even though they ask you to introduce yourself to your classmates, you have to make it conversational
Okay.
and probably shorter.
Okay.
So can you do that?
Hi, I'm Lexi. Most recently, I worked in food and beverage growth equity in Boulder, Colorado. And prior to that, I was on Goldman's healthcare
Yeah,
banking.
you've lost me already.
Okay.
Uh, if you know what I mean, it might help to start at the bottom. Hi, I'm Lexi. I went to the University of California at San Diego. I was an ex major. After that, my first full time job was a healthcare analyst at Goldman Sachs. And I stayed there for 1.5 years instead of the usual two because I got an opportunity to work. You get it?
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Hi, I'm Lexi. I went to school at UC San Diego where I studied business and economics. After that, I started my first full-time job with Goldman Sachs on their healthcare team. I was there for about a year and a half before I had the opportunity
You're
to join.
talking too fast.
Okay. Before I had the opportunity to join Sunrise Strategic, a growth equity firm in Boulder, Colorado. And that is where I was for the last 2 years.
We're going to do
So,
this one more time because it's
okay.
critical.
Okay.
Uh, could you make it more conversational?
Do you have tips for that?
Speak slower.
Okay.
Pretend you're talking to one person.
Okay.
Completeness is not the objective. It's just giving them the only thing your classmates care about is where you went to college, where you worked, and what you can do for them. And if you've got a hobby like crochet or golf, that you're looking for partners. That's worth mentioning at the end.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lexi. I'm from California and went to school at UC San Diego. I studied economics and business there. I then started my career at Goldman Sachs in their healthcare team. And after a year and a half, I left to join my current fund, a growth equity fund called Sunrise Strategic. We work with food and beverage companies.
Okay, you'll loosen up in the course of this
Okay.
interview, but you get the idea. You get and you understand what's needed. There's a lot of examples of this on my website and the internet and poets and quants. Could you tell me what you're doing now?
I'm currently working at Sunrise Strategic. We're a small growth equity fund in Boulder, Colorado, focused on better for you food and agriculture companies. What that means is we're writing checks in the 30 to $70 million range, trying to help up and coming food companies grow.
What are some of your typical investments, if you can name them?
Yeah, we're currently investing out of Fund Two, and we are yet to make our first investment, so I can't speak to that. But out of Fund One, some of our highlights that we're still working with are Kodiak Cakes, the pancake company. I'm not sure if you've tried it. And Vital Farms Eggs was a company that we recently exited. That's not one we're still working with. And then Teton Waters Ranch and Maple Hill Creamery are two of our really cool ag companies working in the regenerative ag and better for you milk space. It's a broad mandate, but we try to invest in companies that we feel provide better options for people when it comes to their food choices, or companies that are better for the world, better for the environment in some way.
All right, I'm going to be real hard on you, but
Oh,
this is subtle. Better options for food choices. Don't say that in an
okay,
interview, okay? We try and invest in companies that are, providing healthier food,
okay.
that don't have blah and blah. What's the answer that way? What companies do you try and invest in? It's important you have this internalized. They're
Yeah,
gonna spend a lot of time with it, maybe.
we try to invest in healthier companies. That can either mean branded companies that are low in sugar or offer better sugar alternatives. It can also mean looking at our dairy companies, grass-fed dairy, which has proven health benefits, or something like grass-fed foods, our regenerative ag program, that is ultimately better for the environment.
Good. What is that a real space, or is that just the choice of your company, or is that something your company does 80%?
There are a few players in the space, but it's not as robust as perhaps something as general as tech.
I'm sure it isn't. Good, good. Tell me the deal that you worked on at Sunrise that you're most proud of or was most challenging, or for whatever reason
Yeah,
you want to feature.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll keep this anonymous because it's not a deal that ultimately ended up
Okay.
in our portfolio. But we worked with a frozen novelty company that we were looking to invest in. Frozen novelties can be like ice cream or popsicles, anything you'd find in the freezer aisle. I thought it was a really incredible company with a really great growth story. And they also had an incredibly impressive founder who had essentially been working on the company since he was in high school himself. The thing that I found challenging about it that made it really interesting for me was that he had single-handedly developed his manufacturing, which on the one hand was impressive, but on the other meant that it was very
You haven't
difficult.
gotten to the point yet. I often say this, you got to answer the question immediately and then backpedal. A very exciting deal I worked on was, Joe Popsicle's company. And what made it exciting was the owner was one of these self-made guys who had patented a new popsicle stick. And we had to work around that or blah, blah, blah. You get the idea?
Yep. I'm going to answer with a different company now that you've said that. I think I have a better example. Is that okay?
Hey, tell me about an exciting deal you've worked on for any reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to keep this anonymous because we didn't end up investing in the company, although we are still talking to them. We were looking at a food delivery service company that was particularly targeted at babies and toddlers. I found it really interesting because I know that the battle of food preparation was a difficult thing for my parents, given that they were both working parents. And I thought this was a really interesting solution. However, marketing it
What was the
became
solution?
they were prepackaged, very healthy toddler or baby meals, depending on the stage of the child's
What was
development.
what was the uniqueness? The prepackaged or the healthy?
I would say both. The fact that they delivered to your door and they were healthy, and only took about a minute to prepare, so parents could feel good about giving these foods to
You've
their
got to
toddlers.
upfront that. You've got to go. A very exciting company I worked with was, the X company, and this company had a few unique things. It was they sold prepackaged baby food, and the fact that the stuff was prepackaged and it was healthy, it didn't have sugar, all those things were attractive to me. What they came to us for, or what I did, then you got to get yourself in there, okay? What made it exciting for me was blah blah. You get the idea?
Yeah, yeah. So one deal
Start
we
again.
worked
Hey,
on,
tell me about an exciting deal you worked on for any reason.
one exciting deal I worked on was a company that was creating prepackaged healthy food for toddlers and parents, or more practically, so that the parents of toddlers and children could have an easy way to feed their kids healthy, ready to eat in 1 minute meals. I found this really exciting because there's a lot of companies coming up in the baby and toddler space, but none had solved the problem of efficiency and practicability. No other company had as practical a solution as this company, and I found that really exciting.
Is the solution a trade secret?
It was essentially plates that had bite-sized toddler meals. So for example, they'd have like ham bites and egg bites that you could easily heat up for your toddler. They often had hidden vegetables in them. They were very clean packaged.
All right.
And then their
When you
one
name the
big
company, you've
trait,
got to be able to go bang, bang, bang. What made this country interesting was they had small portions for toddlers. That's sort of unusual. They also snuck in healthy elements like vegetables and other healthy things. And the third thing was that, okay? That's the company answer. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. What I
okay,
did, okay, what they came to us for, and what I did for them over X months was one, two, and three. That's the answer. You got it?
yep. Um, I worked with a company offering a solution in the toddler and baby food space. What made them interesting was that they had very healthy pre-proportioned meals. Parents could heat them up in as quick as 1 minute, so it was very easy on the parents. And they snuck in healthy elements. All the food was clean. There were hidden vegetables. What I found really interesting during diligencing this was that I got to really dive into the baby and toddler food space and learn that there aren't currently a ton of healthy options. And of the options that were available, they were very time intensive and expensive for parents. This company offered a lower cost, less time intensive solution that I found very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, anyone would find it interesting. So what did you do? What you're describing
Um,
is why the company is
my big,
interesting in general. What you haven't done is answered a question about why the engagement was interesting to you. What did they need? You understand? I'm not
yeah,
giving you a hard time. You understand what I'm
I
looking
think
for?
unfortunately yes. Unfortunately, I think the most interesting part of the engagement was why we ultimately decided to pass on the company and keep in touch, but not make an investment at that time. This company was a recurring subscription that was delivered to parents. And I, through my research, realized that their their customer lifetime value was actually decreasing, and that was a problem that they needed to
That's a
address
brilliant
before
piece
putting
of
the
diligence. It's not the best answer to the question.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What
Yeah,
you're saying is, the company I'm most proud of is one I figured out we don't want to be there, so I never saw them again.
yeah, absolutely. As a note, unfortunately, in the 2 years of my firm, we haven't made an investment, just mostly due to macroeconomic issues.
Any
So it's
any
difficult.
any any part of your career, including the stuff at Goldman, just tell me the most exciting engagement and what you did.
Oh, yeah. Um, Going back to Goldman, my most interesting engagement was the deal with Sema4 and GeneDx I executed right before I left the firm. Sema4 was a diagnostics company that had a really good wealth of data and AI to essentially help predict what kind of diseases people were prone to based on their DNA using AI. However, they realized that their target market, which was women and babies, and trying to predict what diseases babies might have before they were born, was not as
Isn't there target market doctors and hospitals and healthcare providers?
it is. You have to get mothers on board to have their babies tested. So it's really marketing those mothers, and that was not as
That's what you were
well.
doing, or isn't that what the doctors are supposed to do?
Sure, sure. I guess you could say it was a dual marketing path. Um,
All right.
However, they realized they needed a
Let's see if this works. Cut to the chase. What did you do? Why was this? So I can understand the subject matter is interesting. What part two? What did you do that made it the most interesting case you've worked on, or one of the most interesting? That's what the question is driving at. I want to know what you did. This is a chance for you to brag in a socially acceptable way.
um, that is always a struggle, isn't it? They they
Not
needed
for
a new
me.
they needed a new target
Uh,
market, so we were able to help
Lexi,
them.
you're applying to Harvard Business School, not Harvard Divinity School. Okay, they're not averse to selling over there.
True. I'm gonna change this up on you again. Can I choose a different deal?
No problem.
Okay. I worked on a deal for a company called HCO. They were acquiring a company called BCO. However, HCO, who wanted to acquire BCO, didn't have enough cash on their balance sheet at that time to make a, a promising offer. So I had the really interesting task of having to work with our debt and equity teams to try to figure out whether they could sell stock on the public markets, offer stock to their client, or raise additional debt to really load up on the cash necessary to present an interesting offer. Um, I found that incredibly interesting. Up until that point, I had not worked with that many different cash sources.
That's an acceptable answer, and in the real world, a great answer. But for purposes of this once in a lifetime experience, a better answer usually involves working with and through other people.
Okay.
What you're describing is, yeah, we had a company and I did a lot of fancy X and Y to help them raise money. That's acceptable, but it's something anybody could do. Any competent investment banker could do, unless there's something you're not telling me. You need to prepare answers for your favorite deal and why, your best deal, a deal that didn't work and why.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, is the culture different at Goldman than at Sunrise?
Yeah, I would say the culture is very different. One thing that I discovered when I joined Sunrise is that it was a very entrepreneurial firm. Not only are we working with smaller businesses, but we are a small company ourselves. Whereas at Goldman, there were a very robust set of systems and processes. And while there was occasionally room for creativity, there was a well-trod path before us. I realized when I got to my current firm that we needed some more work developing our processes, but also that I had a lot more room for creativity to how I approach deals.
Good. Okay, that's a good answer. The language they're looking for, you don't have to use these words.
Okay.
In Harvard Business School's mind, cultures are either flat or hierarchical or shades in between. But
Okay.
you go, well, the simple answer is Goldman is a very established hierarchical company. And as Strategic Sunrise is newer, smaller, and, to use the lingo, it's a flatter culture. At Goldman, I never spoke to the supervisor of my supervisor, and at Sunrise only has how many investment professionals?
Three.
Well, I call that pretty flat. In
We are
general,
pretty flat.
doesn't have to be, but it usually is. Can you give me a roadmap of your career after Harvard Business School?
Yeah, after Harvard Business School, I'm hoping to become an operator at a small, growing, better for you food company, similar to the ones I work with now. I'm really hoping to use my time in business school to transition from a more finance-oriented career to becoming a well-rounded operator. In the long term, I would love to continue to
Yeah,
stay in the food and ag
you're
space.
looking and sounding a little scripted.
Okay.
What you got to say is, I want to go to Harvard Business School to learn general business skills as a way of becoming a more impactful leader in companies I've been working for now, such as this and this. An ideal job for me right after Harvard Business School would be to do this.
Okay. I'm looking to go to Harvard Business School to become a more well-rounded operator, following a career very focused on just the finance space. After Harvard, I am hoping to, or I will transition into a role as an operator at an up and coming food and beverage company. Something like Misfits Market, I find really
Let me say
interesting.
something. The word operator is not doing you any good. It
Oh,
sounds scripted.
okay.
It,
General
it,
manager.
yeah, manager is fine. That's what they call them. That they're a school of business management, not business operators.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping to use my time at Harvard to become a more well-rounded manager. I've been very focused on finance, and following Harvard, I would like to move into a role actually working at an up-and-coming, um, better for you food or agriculture company. I think a really good fit for me would be something like Misfits Market, which helps bring fresh produce and good packaged food to people who don't necessarily have access to the highest end grocery stores or agriculture.
How much do you know about that company?
I know a fair amount about that company.
What role would you play in that company?
I think a good fit for me would be a strategy oriented role, especially coming out of business school. But I think I could also leverage what I've learned as an investor in the space in that role.
Good. Any questions for
Thank
me?
you. Nope. This has been incredible. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, Lexi, good luck, and thanks for joining us here at Poets and Quants.
Thank you.